In a lot of families, it's just expected from the beginning that you'll take over the ranch.
I didn't really have any aspirations to see my kids in the farm if they didn't want to be.
We all wanted this place to be the best that it can right now, but mostly we wanted to pass it on better.
Of all the people in the world that are out there, what's the chance that your kid is the best person to take over and manage your farm?
You know, we keep talking about the succession thing, but that's not gonna happen, right?
My last course at college was ag law, and that impacted me largely because all the cases we studied were family members suing family members over inheriting or not inheriting ranches. And so when I graduated, shortly after, I invited all 4 of my brothers to come and meet with me, and I asked them each, what is this place to you? Before I got a hold and made it my life. Is it financial? Is it retirement? Is it sentimental? And they all said it's just sentimental. We were born there. You can make your life here, but don't let it cost us anything. That was the deal. And I felt pretty confident that that would work. The problem with that was that we inherited this land from my dad as tenants in common. And that means that anybody can make a decision for the whole. It isn't consensus or majority. So an older brother, after 10 years, called and said he was going to force the sale of the ranch. I said, but remember, we shook on it, right? We weren't going to do that. But things changed. People changed. Things changed. And so short of homicide, I had to come up with a different solution. It took me 5 years of a lot of learning, a lot of growing, like how can I hang on to this? How do we do this and make a win-win? And it was set up for me to buy them out. So watching other people fail, having a close call myself, really motivated me to make this an option for my children if they chose. And so from the time they were born, and they might tell you from the womb, I was including them. All the chores they did, I made them feel like we would never be able to do this without you. So in a way, the succession planning started there. And then we just built it together.
There were times in my life that I wanted to be on the ranch, and then there was times I wasn't sure. I feel really lucky that I got to live in both those places. Like, I had this home that I was born and raised on and loved, but then I still got to leave and try other things. And I tried a lot of other things, and I left a lot. I came back for good, though. When I was ready to have kids, I knew there was nowhere else in the world I was going to have them.
Probably 20 years ago, we started a disciplined family meeting, and we'd meet for 3 days, isolated somewhere, and just really plan out the year and talk about all the family issues. I believe that that's really where this succession process started.
It was always something that we knew we would have to continually talk about. I think when it became a little more real, I remember coming into those conversations really guarded and really stubborn with, this is what I want. And the grace that my mom gave me to just kind of be like, okay, that's not going to happen, but I hear you and I'm glad that this is something you want. And it kept being okay to come into those conversations with different mindsets and different attitudes and different ideas. And when we got to the place where we had done them enough that we knew we could kind of come in with any wild idea, and that we all really wanted to be there, and we really all wanted the same thing. We just wanted to keep getting better. So when we all knew that, then those conversations got easier. Sometimes they were even fun.
One time, I think for me that I felt the greatest was I asked him, what do you want? And my daughter said, I want to be a rancher and use the land with working with livestock and producing food. And my son, whose his passion is wildlife and natural resources, And he said, I want no cows anywhere, and I want it to, all its wildlife and the river, and it's all managed for the natural resources. And I thought, uh-oh, this, how's that going to work? But I just decided in that to just say, all right, I was maybe 40 then, so I could let that sit and just see what kind of bubbled up. And turns out there's room for all. There's room for all of that, and that's how it's working out. I didn't want my kids to hate each other. I wanted to meet needs of everyone, and I really was worried about it. And I talked to friends, local ranchers, about what do I do? And a lot of it was trying to figure out, how do I avoid that stupid inheritance tax? I don't want to lay a $500,000 tax bill when I die on my kids. Every generation we had to sell land, and I didn't want that to happen. And I had a friend, a rancher, who called out of the blue and said, hey, Liza, I met a lawyer I really liked, and he helped me set up a corporation and an LLC. And most of that, it was the first time I'd done anything official at all. It was mostly about reducing risk and liability protection. It also gave me a way to pass on shares, which was my intention. Again, avoiding that inheritance tax. I'm always thinking about, like, four generations beyond me. Will they have the opportunity? And I want them to. And so I had my kids write their wills so that they each inherited from each other, that it wouldn't get filtered out. There's prenups, there's those legal tools, so that I could ensure that none of the shenanigans that happen in people's lives would ever impact this place being lost or divided.
It really gives us all a peace of mind. If you do something here, it's under your own business with your own risk and your own LLC. And I just feel like taking responsibility in a legal way is something that's made our family meetings and conversations even easier, honestly.
If I went with plan A, which was ranch till I'm 95 or 100 years old until I just fall over dead, my kids will be 60 or 70 and ready to go, we're ready. Like, I don't want to do that. So it really motivated me to kind of get out of the way. They've supported me all these years. Now it's my turn to support them.
Working with our mom is actually really awesome. We've always worked with our mom. She made sure that we contributed to the dinner table every night. When we sat down, we knew that we helped get whatever was there. Not just the food, but the result of a hard day's work being done. And we were always a part of that. When you asked me what I wanted to be when I was 9, that like sweet age where you really, really know yourself, I said I wanted to be a cowboy. I wanted to be a rancher. And I don't think a lot of adults get to live out that dream. And I feel really lucky that I do, because I am.
What my daughter said to me was really valuable when I was trying to sell my cows. And I was trying to do that, make that decision for about 3 years. And I was wiggling on finding ways I could still own them, but they wouldn't be here. Maybe I'd get the calves back. And finally she said, what's in your way? And I said, well, I just worked so hard. I've worked so many years, so hard. I had this awesome cow herd. It could never be replaced. I've just, put so much into it. And she gently said, good job. Good job. Now move on. And it was so valuable. I use it all the time. It's like, this isn't quitting. This is success. This is good. Now I can do something different. It's the best life. And that's what we want for our kids. So, let that happen. It's okay.
Our farm name is Gray Farms, Inc., and we're kind of taken to calling it GFI because we're a family farm, and some of the family are from another country. There's 5 Lopez brothers and 2 Grays that are part of the ownership of this business.
So I'm been here since 1994 there. So I started working here about 16 and a half years old there. So this is my first job there. So my brother, one time he called me to Mexico and said, hey, you want to come here there? And I say, yeah, why not? And then since day one there into now there, I've been here there.
Had 5 brothers that showed up from Cocula, Mexico. Their work ethic was killer. It was just amazing. And they cared. And ended up becoming friends with them. And they've worked for us now for 25 to 30 years, depending on which one we're talking about. I didn't really have any aspirations to see my kids in the farm if they didn't want to be.
Grew up as a farm kid, loved it growing up. It was just the idyllic life where we learned the value of hard work and the passion for growing stuff out of the ground is something that I've never said in my life, and that would be a complete lie if I said any of that. Oscar is 100% the best guy for the farm, not me. I don't have much of a passion for farming. I have a brown thumb. Those guys get a lot of enjoyment out of, oh, we're going to grow this plant and we're going to have all this pride in this plant that's growing out of the ground, and that's not me. I worked in juvenile corrections. I did that for a while, and it was not suited to my personality. I said, well, until I find something better, you guys need some help on the farm. You know, accidentally started enjoying it, but there was never like a breakthrough moment.
So I don't come right here just to get my paycheck anymore. Some days are really worse, some days are really nice, but to the end, the satisfaction you got there, it's just, you know, I grow those onions there. Yeah, I'm happy there. Satisfaction is pretty good for me.
Oscar's our operations manager. He's great at that. That's a skill I don't really have, the way he can keep everything in his head and run us all out. I do our CFO duties, and that's something I could bring to the farm. That's not really his strength or desire.
And I inferred to these guys all along, hey, you know, we're going to have a place for you here. Your contributions here, I mean, you take a salary. That's what you get paid for working here. But that stuff that where you show up at 3 o'clock in the morning and jump in a truck and go for 24 hours because you have to, and I don't ask you to, you just show up and do it. Those are the kind of things that make me want to say, you know what, you're absolutely deserving of something. And so I wanted to give them an opportunity just like I was given by my parents. My first steps in planning this was to take a holistic look at our farm and say, are we equipped? Do we have the team in place? Can that team be accountable to each other? We all had ego issues and blind spot issues, including me. I'm the king of that. And so we had to go through a process where we realized, you know what, we've got to fix this because we needed to build some trust between all of us.
Several years ago, Oscar and I, we had a bit of an absence of trust. I mean, I had total trust in the ability he could do his job, and never a question of what he's going to do, what's right for the farm.
So I ended up realizing that if it took 10 minutes or it took 10 years, it was going to blow up if I got beer trucked. A friend of mine told me, read this book. It was a book on a management system. But what made a lot of sense to me was it really called for communication and not being afraid to deal with tough issues, and matter of fact, prioritizing the tough issues.
I think when Dad saw that, you know, like, yeah, Oscar and Kevin, on paper they should work. We have very complementary skill sets, but are they ever going to build that trust and make, you know, and make this a viable solution for the long term? And that's when he gave us that book.
And I said, you got 2 weeks to read it. We're meeting Friday at whatever time. And everybody said, yes, if we could do something like this, our dreams would come true. One of the coolest things is our accountability chart. It's not a job description chart, but if your name's in a box, that's your box, and you're 100% accountable. And when I interject myself into Oscar's box or Kevin's, they look at me and go, not your box.
So if you ask me, yeah, we're going to do this and the onions there, if I don't believe that, I don't do that one. I fight a lot, even though they might don't like it. But to the end, when we leave the room, everybody's happy. And we make the best decision about that based on what the crops need, not based on what I needed.
So a couple buzzwords we use a lot are meritocracy and the greater good.
Yeah.
You know, so what's best for the farm? We always try to crown the company.
Another point there then. So we come out to be more direct there. So if somebody make a mistake there, we can go, oh, somebody else go doesn't do what's supposed to do there. So we can face that guy there right in the moment there. We don't wait. We don't waste some time there. And he can be happy, he can be mad there, but to the end, we're looking for the kid there is gonna make the farm the most valuable time there. So
Yeah. So direct, like that, it's one of our core values, and it was, we put it on there initially.
Yep.
It was a bit aspirational. It's not who we were. A lot of kid gloves and sweeping issues under the carpet and that kind of thing. And
we don't do that.
yeah, we're getting a lot better about it. So that and being open minded is another one of our core values. And these are both buzzwords. Like you've got something tough to say, like, hey Oscar, can I be direct with you here? Or
Yep.
hey, are you being open minded about this? I got something I want to talk to you about.
So during that whole process, next thing you know, we're talking about succession. And so what's my position here? Oscar's been working here for 25 years. Kevin took jobs elsewhere and came back to the farm later. If these guys didn't want that opportunity, I could have just sold it, given half the money to the government, wrote the checks to them for, hey, it's been great, see ya. And but no, they want that opportunity. I started thinking about, okay, what are the best ways to move stock in this corporation, even though we're an S corporation, from Nancy and I onto these other guys. And then I started putting it on paper and saying, okay, we could do this for this many years. And how long would it take us to get to where by the time I'm 75, Nancy and I only own 45% of the company. And so the way we're doing that, of course, is with some aggressive gifting. My worst case scenario is Nancy and I pass away and the kids have to sell part of the farm to pay a tax bill. We spent a lot of time figuring out what worked for us. And I actually tried to include Oscar and Kevin in a lot of that.
Dad had brought it up and said, this is what I'm thinking. But really, we didn't see the effort he was putting in behind the scenes. And we're a couple of years into it, and Oscar especially put it to him, like, hey, so, we keep talking about the succession thing, but, like, that's not going to happen, right?
And they finally told me, you need to shut up about that because we don't know what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. Until you figure that out, stop talking to us because we'll just get our hopes up.
I think he was kind of paralyzed by wanting to make sure he got it exactly right, wasn't necessarily communicating the progress that well.
The way my mom and dad did it was they just started selling us property off the farm and selling us the machinery, and eventually we bought all the farm out, and so it worked fine. But I was really limited because I had a lot of money tied up in those payments to get them paid off. And then I have other friends whose parents, maybe their dads haven't worked for them for 25 or 30 years, and they still own 51% of the company. And I'm not saying that's wrong. Everybody's got a different way of doing it. And for us, that worked, but I didn't really want to embrace the idea of every generation should have to buy the same piece of farm ground again. I take pride in saying we are still a family farm because we're the Grays and the Lopez's. Of all the people in the world that are out there, what's the chance that your kid is the best person to take over and manage your farm? What's the chance that 5 brothers from a foreign country are the best people to run your farm?
My last name is Gray, it's Lopez. So, and I have 5 other brothers right here. And I asked Skip there, why me there? What do you see in me that make you there just be part of the farm there? Because why don't you choose my brother, Jose, he's the oldest there, or another one there? I said, well, because everybody's different there. You seems like you the one go ahead from those guys. You like to be more management. You like to be more, put your nose where it doesn't belong there. I always get in trouble anyway.
One of the nice things that Dad has done is he doesn't put a lot of weight on the legacy or that, oh, well, we need to have, and your kids and their kids, and we'll have this generational farm. He's more along the lines of like, yeah, well, I don't know, when it's yours, and if it needs to sell it, or if I needed to sell it, I would have sold it. So I'm really thankful for that.
Here, in this farm, the best people is got a right seat there. So it's not because your last name is Gray, that means you're going to be right here, there, management there. If you don't know anything about it, you don't have a fit right here.
I have a friend who once said, nobody on our farm is going to make a single decision on our farm unless their last name is the same as mine. I don't remember if I responded or not, but I remember thinking, well, what if that person isn't the best person to make that decision? Well, I learned that long ago that, sometimes owners' kids, they might make good shareholders, but not necessarily good managers. So put the best people in place.
You need to start working on the farm before you start management the farm there. Every single system we got on the farm there, since moving pipes all the way to try to drive it, all the way to fertilize it, to plant seeds, to do that. I just pretty much I went through all the way there. It's just no secrets with me. If you ask me about onions there, I know how we plant. If you ask me how land prep there, I know how we do that. If you ask me about hazelnuts there, I know how we plant there.
That's the most important part of succession, is crafting your team. Then the rest of it comes pretty easy. I've enjoyed every age I've ever been. But watching this next generation, getting some ownership and seeing them make these decisions, seeing them survive and thrive and make decisions that are way better than the decisions I make. Man, it's some of the most fun I've ever had. And now I'm ancillary. In the old days, this time of year, every morning at 3 o'clock, I would wake up and my stomach would be in knots and I would say, how in the world can we get all this work done with this limited crew we have? We're short on money. You know, this morning was the first time I had kind of one of those thoughts at 3 a.m. And I went, oh, I don't even have to worry about that anymore. That's Oscar's problem. And I went right back to sleep.
The most important thing is communicating and being willing to communicate. So if it's scary to talk to your parents about your questions about what's going to happen after you die, then get scared and go ahead and talk to them. Parents need to be talking to their kids, and they need to be doing that the whole time.
It would be unfortunate if, you know, somebody thinks like, oh yeah, the future of the farm is we're going to grow this many acres and we're going to have these other profit centers we're going to grow, and somebody else is thinking like, well, I can't wait to sell this thing. I think the market's up right now, and somebody else is just looking for a job. I mean, that's not very good alignment on vision.
Think about, do I have the team on board that I really can trust, can work with? Do we have conversations that I can't really say this? I'd love to say this, but I can't say it because it would set off a whole volcano. You can't do that.
We don't have any secrets. When my kids were in the womb, I used to say, always talk to your mother. Always talk to your mother. I tuck them in bed at night. Always talk to your mother. It's a wonderful thing because I'm the one they talk to. Sometimes, you know, that's not always what I want to hear, but that doesn't matter. Difficult things can be said. And then when I do pass on, there's not going to be any big surprises. They know the finances, they know the easements, the water rights, the mortgage payment, you know, there's no surprises. And so they're getting in with eyes wide open.
There's nothing I hate more than secret ingredients. I think that's so unfair. And I think you should pass on all your recipes and you should include every single thing that you do to make that perfect dish. Make sure you pay attention to the whole story that you're telling your kids. Because all of it matters, not just the chunk of land.